So I'm happy you agreed to do this survivor/fighter video with me. Do you mind introducing yourself to everyone?
No, my name is Suzanne Wilson, and I was diagnosed with invasive ductal carcinoma in my right breast back in January of 2019. I had adjunctive chemotherapy for 4 rounds of chemo before I had my mastectomy in June. And then I had another 4 rounds of chemo after that. And then I had 30 radiation treatments. Somewhere before we finished with the radiation, I started having pain in my lower back. And we did some more scans, and ultimately a couple weeks ago I was diagnosed with metastatic disease in my spine and my ribs and my hips. And so I've restarted radiation therapy actually just yesterday for a couple more weeks.
You definitely took the I am a fighter, hear me roar to a new level. With everything going on, what is something that's helped you get through the tough days or the tough weeks?
Main number one, my family. My daughter and I, my daughter moved in with me back in March, and she's just been indispensable. I mean, just incredible. I couldn't have done this without her. I know that's a cliche, people say that, but that's just honestly, I mean, she's been there for the good days and the bad days and everything in between. And my son lives close by, checks on me every day. I have another daughter who still lives in California and 3 grandchildren, and the grandkids FaceTime me a lot, and my sisters and my mom and everybody. I just got some really incredible people on my side. And then there's Minnie Pearl here. She's my daughter's doggy, but she's my grand dog, and we spend a lot of time together. She's been there for me on all the good days and the bad days too, huh?
And kind of like now, how has it been having a dog to just help you on those bad days?
It's been wonderful, especially on the days when my daughter's at work and it's just me and her. I talk to her about everything. So it's like free therapy, because she listens to everything, and she's really responsive to, I mean, she knows when I'm having a bad day. She'll just lay down with me and she'll just be calm, and she seems to know what I need before I even know sometimes. She's very sensitive to what I need.
I see her out there on the deck now, and she's just like, she's patrolling, being very overly protective.
Yeah, she is very protective.
That's awesome. If you was to, at a doctor's appointment, sit down and start a conversation like we always do with someone, and you find out someone was just diagnosed with cancer, what's a piece of advice you would give them that you wish someone had taken the time to give you?
I actually just met a gentleman yesterday at my radiation appointment who was just recently diagnosed with esophageal cancer, and he hasn't gone through his chemo yet or his radiation. So he was asking me about the chemo because he was really nervous about that. And what I told him was to go into it without any expectations of what you've seen or what you've heard in the past, because everybody's so different and everybody responds to it differently, and no matter what you've heard or you've seen in the past, it's going to be different for you. For me, chemo, I was terrified of chemo, but where it wasn't a piece of cake and I wouldn't recommend it, it was 10 times less bad than I thought it was going to be. So go into it with an open mind, and just to see how it's going to fit you and affect you.
Now, when we were setting up this interview, hi Mimi, you had told me that you're not in a mission and you don't consider yourself a survivor. But on the EOT, Christian says something that has stuck out to me, and I want to know how it resonates with you. You become a survivor on the day of diagnosis.
I guess, you know, when you think about the word survivor, you think about it that, or I always have that, okay, you went through this and you survived. But in that sense, I guess it just means that I'm still surviving. I'm surviving every day, every morning when I get up, and every fight I have, and every doctor's appointment, and every good day and every bad day. It's just surviving. It's just, you know, living life, which is what we all do, even someone who's not going through cancer or anything, you know. It's just about getting up the next day and doing what you need to do to get through the day.
What is it that you have learned that motivates you to get up that next day?
Again, my family, my grandkids, they are what motivate me to do the next treatment and to look for the next treatment, because I want to see them get older. I want to see them grow up, and I want them to see me at least fight to be here as long as I can for them.
I know when we spoke Saturday at the spa day, which you looked beautiful at, you told me that you had a group at the YMCA.
Mm-hmm.
How has that support group helped you?
They've been incredible. I started with it's called After Breast Care Program through the YMCA. And I had contacted Tammy Thrash because she is the one who runs the program. And I told her kind of the same thing I did you. At the time I was still going through chemo. And I told her, you know, it's called After Breast Care, so I wasn't sure if it was something that, you know, would be appropriate for me. And she's like, yeah, just come on and you can do whatever you can do. And basically it was, we would go twice a week and exercise, have monthly meetings, which we still have and I still go to. And it's about being the best that you can be, you know. Nobody's pushing you, it's about doing what you can do. But these ladies, our group has been finished since December, and I still hear from them all once or twice a week, sometimes even more often than that. We get together for lunch. They've given me, you know, tips to get through the bad days on, you know, through their own experience, and it's just, they've been great. They've been really good support.
That's phenomenal. I've actually never heard of that. That's why I wanted to make sure someone else could hear about it.
Yeah, it is a phenomenal program. It really is. And it's a 16-week program, and they have sponsors who pay for the program, so, you know, people don't have to worry if they can't afford to go to join the Y, because you're basically given membership during that 16 weeks while you're going to the program. And then, like I said, the meetings continue every month, and you're continuously allowed to or invited to attend those, and any other things, like we had a spa night in January, and that's for everybody who's ever been through the program, and it's wonderful.
That's phenomenal. As you know, our theme this year for Relay is Relay Through the Decades. What is an inspirational quote or even a song that on your bad days you could read or hear and it'd make you smile? It'd offer you an escape for even just a little bit.
I'd have to say, if there was a song, it would be Kelly Clarkson's Stronger. And you know, the what doesn't kill you makes you stronger cliche is not really a cliche because I feel like I've always felt like I was a strong person, but definitely it takes strength to convince yourself to get out of bed every day when you're going through this. And you know, the things that you took for granted in the past, you have to get stronger to go ahead and do those at this point in your life. So
my grandfather always said, with everything you've been through, you should be strong enough to bench press a Buick.
Yeah.
And I love that song by Kelly Clarkson. Yeah. And it will go on our next playlist because you're right, you are stronger. This is where I give you just a free opportunity if you want to thank any of your supporters, or if you want to just give one last, I call it a word of wisdom or a sparkle point to anyone going through treatment of any kind. What would it be? What would you say?
Just, you know, never give up. I mean, there are days where and never give up, but also don't be too hard on yourself, because there are days I've fought to with myself, because there are days where I don't want to get up. I want to stay in bed. And I've had to learn that that's okay sometimes, because, you know, I raised 3 kids and I was always busy and I was always moving. So I had a lot of guilt on the days when I wanted to just stay in bed. So don't be too hard on yourself. If you need the rest, take the rest, but don't stay there. You know, there are going to be days when you do need to get up and you do need to get dressed and you do need to do things, and you need to push yourself to do that, because ultimately, in my opinion anyways, it makes you feel better. It makes you feel better to get up and get dressed and try and have as normal a day as possible. Life's going to change. It's definitely different than it was a year and a half ago. But it's life. I'm living. I'm breathing.
That's a pretty good thing right there. Well, thank you, Miss Susan, for sitting down and not only sharing your survivor story, but your fighter story with us. I truly appreciate it.